Mara Ellison did not spend $57,000 burying a steel corridor under her pasture because she loved convenience. She built it because one man had promised to find her when the snow got deep. By the time the storm swallowed northern Maine, everyone in St. Agatha was calling that tunnel genius. They were wrong. Someone had already turned it into a door. Aroostook County does not look dangerous on a summer postcard. It looks quiet. Hayfields, black spruce, old potato roads running straight until they vanish into Canadian weather. But winter changes the rules. In winter, a quarter-mile can become a death march. A closed gate can become a wall. And a woman living alone at the end of a logging road can disappear without anyone hearing the first scream. Mara knew that before she ever bought the farm. She was 39, a structural engineer by training, and for 8 years she had been married to Grant Calder. Grant owned waterfront developments in Portland and smiled like a man who had never been told no. He gave speeches at charity dinners. He remembered judges' birthdays. He sent flowers to women he was already destroying. Mara learned the private version of him slowly. The version who controlled the bank accounts, the version who changed the locks during arguments, the version who could turn a room full of people against her with one calm sentence. The divorce took 2 years. The restraining order took 6 months. And on the day the order was signed, Grant leaned close enough for only her to hear. "Snow won't save you, Mara. It only covers tracks for a while." That sentence followed her north. It followed her through the LLC that purchased the old Lavoie maple farm. It followed her into the lawyer's office, where she changed her mailing address twice. It followed her onto 46 acres of wind-scoured pasture 3 miles from the nearest plowed road. The Lavoie place had 2 buildings worth saving: a square white farmhouse with a granite cellar underneath it, and a timber lambing barn 118 yards downhill beyond a line of bent apple trees. The barn mattered because Mara had taken in 3 rescue animals no one else wanted. 2 aging Belgian draft mares named Fern and Sable, and a stubborn old Belgian mule named Cass. They were enormous, gentle, and useless to anyone who measured life in profit. To Mara, they were proof that something damaged could still be cared for. The locals said she would not make it to Christmas. Mara let them talk. Then she called Abel Pike. Abel ran a one-man excavation outfit out of Presque Isle. He had a flatbed, a yellow excavator with rust along the boom, and the kind of silence that made people trust him more than they should. Mara met him beside the farmhouse in late August and unrolled the drawings across the hood of his truck. "I need a trench from this cellar wall to the barn utility room," she said. 9 feet deep, 7 feet wide, continuous grade, no low pockets. Abel pushed his cap back and looked at the line on the paper. "That is not a trench," he said. "That is a mine. It is a frost corridor. For pipes? For me." He looked from the farmhouse to the barn, then back at her. Mara kept her voice steady. 72-inch galvanized culvert, poured walking slab, insulated conduit, ventilation, battery lighting, manual lock at both ends. I need to reach the barn during storms without crossing open ground. Abel gave a dry laugh. "Most folks buy better boots. Most folks don't have 3 draft animals depending on them." That was true. It was not the whole truth. Mara paid half up front with a cashier's check. The number made Abel stop laughing. For 7 weeks, the Lavoie farm sounded like a road crew had invaded it. The excavator clawed open the pasture. Dump trucks brought in culvert sections big enough for a grown person to stand inside. A concrete crew from Bangor poured the slab. An electrician ran 2 independent circuits, one from the farmhouse panel, one from the generator transfer box. Mara installed LED strips along the ribs of the pipe and tested them 3 times. At the farmhouse end, she mounted a round steel hatch behind a false shelving wall in the granite cellar. At the barn end, she installed a heavy insulated door inside the utility room, secured with a mechanical wheel lock and an electric strike. To anyone above ground, the corridor disappeared under fresh backfill and straw. Only 3 things showed: 2 narrow vent stacks and 1 squat black drainage cap beside the old sugar shack. Mara asked Abel about that cap when she saw it. He wiped mud off his hands and said, "Clean out for meltwater. Better to have it and not need it." Mara wanted to argue. But the first hard freeze was coming, and every day mattered. On the last afternoon, Abel stood on the filled trench and looked toward the barn. "You know what you built?" he asked. "A way to feed my animals." "No," he said. "You built a place a person could hide from the whole county." Mara looked at the blank pasture. "Good." The first storm arrived in December. Not snow, an assault. The weather radio called it a stalled Arctic low. The old men at the gas station called it a black spruce blizzard, because the wind tore needles off the trees and drove them sideways with the snow. By midnight, 22 inches had fallen. By morning, the county road was gone. By the second night, the power poles along the ridge cracked one after another, and the whole valley went dark. Mara's diesel generator kicked on behind the farmhouse with a hard metallic cough. Inside, the radiators warmed, the well pump held, the cellar lights stayed white and steady. Outside, the barn had vanished. 118 yards of open pasture had become an empty wall of moving snow. Without the corridor, Fern, Sable, and Cass would have been trapped in a freezer. So Mara began the routine that made the whole impossible place feel almost sane. Every 6 hours, she went down to the cellar, pulled back the false shelving, spun the hatch wheel, and entered the buried pipe. The first step always felt strange. Above her, the farmhouse groaned in the storm. Below, the tunnel was still. The air smelled like concrete dust, cold metal, and dry hay carried in on her coat. Her boots clicked along the slab. The LED strips made the curved walls shine silver. Every 40 feet, a vent pipe hissed faintly with outside air, reminding her that only 9 feet of frozen earth stood between her and weather that could kill a person standing up. At the barn end, she turned the wheel lock, stepped into the utility room, and fed the animals. Fern ate with slow, royal patience. Sable nosed Mara's shoulder until she laughed. Cass, the mule, watched everything with suspicious black eyes, as if he knew people were the weak part of any structure. For 4 days, the system worked perfectly. Mara slept in short pieces. She checked fuel, she logged temperatures, she rationed hay into neat flakes. The storm kept climbing over the farm like something alive. By the 5th night, the snow outside the kitchen window had risen above the porch rail. Cell service was gone, the plow had not come. The world had narrowed to farmhouse, tunnel, barn, generator, animals. And then, at 1:17 in the morning, the lights blinked. Not out, just a half-second dip. Darkness, then white again. Mara froze in the middle of the tunnel with a hay net in one hand. The generator did not fail. The LEDs did not flicker, unless something pulled hard from the line. She stood still and listened. Above her, the storm was only a dull pressure in the earth. Inside the pipe, there was nothing. Then a drop of water struck the concrete in front of her. Mara looked down. A small black puddle had formed beneath the middle vent. That was impossible. The vents were baffled. Snow could not fall straight through them. Rain could not enter at that angle. Meltwater had its own drain line. She crouched. The water had grit in it, not dust. Snowmelt mixed with black soil. Her throat tightened. She lifted her flashlight to the ceiling. The round vent collar above her was dry. But 4 feet past it, along the curve of the culvert, was a vertical smear. Wet. Dark. Fresh. As if someone had slid down the inside wall wearing a soaked coat. Mara backed away. Her boot hit something soft. She looked down. A gray knit glove lay on the concrete. It was not hers. The tunnel had 2 locked ends. No windows, no side doors, no gap wide enough for a fox. And now there was a stranger's glove lying in the safest place she owned. Mara reached into her coat pocket and wrapped her hand around the pistol she had bought after the divorce. "Who's there?" she called. Her voice ran down the pipe and came back thinner. No answer. Then the barn door at the far end gave a low, metallic groan. Mara raised the gun and moved forward. 10 yards from the barn, the smell changed. Burned insulation. Hot copper. The wheel lock on the utility door hung loose. The electric strike was dead. And beyond the cracked door, she heard a heavy rhythm. Bang. 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 It was the sound of metal being destroyed. Mara pushed the door open with her shoulder. The barn was nearly dark. Only the red emergency bulbs over the stalls were glowing, turning the rafters the color of dried blood. Wind screamed through a broken seam in the outer door. Fern and Sable shifted hard in their stalls, hooves slamming rubber mats. Cass flattened his ears and let out a sound Mara had never heard from him before, a low, ugly warning. At the far wall, beside the breaker panel, a man in a black expedition parka raised a splitting maul over his shoulder. Bang! Sparks jumped from the panel. Mara aimed at the center of his back. "Drop it!" The man stopped. He lowered the maul slowly. Then he turned. Even through the hood and the ice on his beard, Mara knew him. Grant smiled. "Hello, Mara." The barn seemed to tilt. Her hands wanted to shake, but the gun stayed level. "How did you get in here?" Grant looked almost delighted by the question. His face was wind-burned raw. His lips were split. Snow was melting off his shoulders onto the floor, but his eyes were bright. You always did trust the wrong, quiet men. Mara's mind moved faster than her body. Abel, the drainage cap, the extra soil by the sugar shack. Grant saw the answer reach her. "I paid your excavator," he said. 50,000 in cash. He put a vertical access sleeve under that clean-out cap, 26 inches across. Tight, but not impossible. Mara swallowed. "You crawled into my tunnel." "I waited until you opened the barn side." He nodded toward the ruined breaker panel. "Then I cut the heat. Cut the lock, cut the cameras. In this weather, everything looks like an accident." Fern slammed her stall door. Grant did not flinch. "You would have been found in the barn after the thaw," he said softly. "A tragic woman, alone, too stubborn to leave, the animals dead around her." Mara heard the storm outside, the animals breathing, the faint buzz of a dying emergency light. "You broke a federal restraining order," she said. "You came here to kill me." Grant took one small step forward. "You still don't understand." "No one is coming." "Stop." He looked at the gun and smiled like he was remembering a private joke. "You never could finish anything hard." Then he moved, not toward her, toward the wall. He swung the maul into a hanging rack of harness and tools, sending iron hooks and leather straps crashing down. Mara flinched. That was all he needed. Grant lunged low, shoulder first, and slammed into her. The pistol fired once into the rafters. The animals erupted. Mara hit the floor hard. The gun skidded under the workbench. Pain flashed white through her ribs. Grant kicked the pistol farther into shadow and stood over her, breathing hard, both hands back on the maul. "You built yourself a tomb," he said. Mara crawled backward. Her shoulder struck the gate of Cass's stall. The mule was no longer warning. He was panicking. His huge body twisted in the narrow space. His hindquarters slammed the boards. His ears were flat against his skull. Grant raised the maul. "Goodbye, Mara." Mara did not look at his face. She looked at the stall latch. Cass's gate was held by a sliding iron bar and a drop pin. Mara's hand found a steel hoof pick hanging from a nail. Grant swung. Mara rolled sideways. The maul hit the floor where her head had been and cracked the concrete. She drove the hoof pick up through the ring of the drop pin and jerked with everything she had. The pin lifted. The sliding bar jumped. Cass exploded backward. Not forward, backward. A terrified mule does not calculate. He kicked. Both iron-shod hind feet struck Grant just below the ribs with the force of a falling engine. Grant left the floor. He hit the edge of the feed bin, spun, and crashed into the barn's center post. The maul clattered away. Cass hit the gate again, shattered it open, and bolted through the broken outer doors into the storm. For 2 seconds, the barn was only wind and snow. Then, Grant made a wet, choking sound. Mara crawled to the workbench, found the pistol, and turned back. Grant was folded on the concrete. One leg lay wrong beneath him. His right arm shook violently and would not obey him. Blood spread from his mouth in a dark line. "Help me," he gasped. Mara stood over him. Her chest hurt with every breath. The barn temperature was falling fast. The panel was destroyed. The trough heaters were dead. The outer doors were broken open to the blizzard. Cass was gone. Fern and Sable were trapped in stalls that would freeze before morning. And Grant, the man who had designed her death to look like weather, was begging her not to leave him in it. The easy thing would have been silence. She could step back into the tunnel, close the steel door, lock it from the farmhouse. Let the cold finish what Cass had started. No one would blame her. Maybe no one would even know. Grant saw that thought cross her face. "Mara," he whispered, "please." She lowered the gun. "I am not you." Then she hit him, not with the gun, with the truth of what survival actually required. She took the heavy calving straps from the wall and bound his wrists behind him. She tied his good ankle to a 50-pound salt block with lead rope. She packed gauze against his bleeding mouth and ignored his screaming when she rolled him onto a canvas drag tarp. "You wanted the storm to do your work," she said. "It won't do mine." Dragging him into the tunnel took 14 minutes. Mara counted because counting kept her from shaking. Every pull sent Grant into a new kind of pain. Every inch left a wet track across the barn floor. When she finally got him across the threshold, the tunnel light made him look smaller. Not harmless, small. She left him 20 feet inside the pipe and went back for the mares. Fern came first, trembling but obedient. Sable refused the doorway until Mara pressed her forehead to the mare's neck and whispered into her winter coat. "Come on, I know. Just one step." The buried corridor filled with sound. Hooves on concrete, hot breath, steel walls ringing, Grant groaning at the far end. When both mares were inside, Mara pulled the barn door shut and spun the lock wheel until it bit. The wind vanished. Just like that. The blizzard became a distant animal scratching at the roof of the world. For the next 3 days, Mara lived underground. She kept Fern and Sable near the farmhouse end, close enough to the cellar stairs for water and hay. Their bodies warmed the pipe. Their breathing softened the metal space into something almost alive. Grant stayed beyond the middle vent, tied, splinted badly, wrapped in 2 horse blankets, and watched constantly. Mara gave him water. She checked his bleeding. She kept him alive. She did not comfort him. On the second day, he tried to speak to her the way he used to. Soft first, then wounded, then reasonable, then cruel. Mara let every version pass down the tunnel and die there. On the third morning, the storm stopped. The silence woke her. Not full silence. There was a scraping above the middle of the tunnel. Mara stood slowly, pistol in hand. Snow shifted overhead. The black drainage sleeves squealed. Then the fake clean-out cap lifted, and a shower of packed snow spilled onto the floor. A pair of boots appeared. A man dropped down hard from the hidden shaft, landing in a crouch with a crowbar in one hand and a satellite phone clipped to his coat. Abel Pike looked toward the barn end first. He expected a corpse. Then he turned and saw Mara standing behind 2 Belgian mares with a pistol aimed at his chest. His face lost all color. "Mrs. Ellison," he said, "I came to check." "No," Mara said. Abel stopped. The mares shifted behind her like walls. Grant made a broken sound from the far end. Abel looked at him, then back at Mara, and understood that the plan had not merely failed, it had testified against him. "Kick the crowbar away," Mara said. He did. "Unclip the satellite phone." His hand shook as he reached for it. "Call the Aroostook County Sheriff's Office. Tell them you are at the Lavoie farm. Tell them there is an injured man in my utility tunnel. Tell them you accepted money to build an illegal access shaft into a secured structure. Tell them the injured man is Grant Calder, and he violated a restraining order to commit attempted murder." Abel's mouth opened. Mara stepped forward. "And if you leave out one word, I will hand them the drawings you stamped, the clean-out cap you lied about, and the man you came here to bury." Abel dialed. By afternoon, the sheriff's tracked rescue crew reached the farm. By evening, Grant was in a helicopter, alive enough to understand that he had survived into prison. Abel's business ended before the snow melted. The hidden shaft was cut out, filled with concrete, and photographed from every angle for court. Cass turned up 2 days later at a logging camp, frosted, hungry, and extremely offended, but alive. In St. Agatha, people stopped joking about the woman at the end of the road. They stopped calling the corridor paranoia. They stopped calling her lucky. Because luck had not poured the concrete. Luck had not spun the lock. Luck had not dragged a murderer out of the cold and kept him breathing long enough to answer for what he had done. Mara had built the tunnel because she was afraid, but fear was not the end of her story. It was the blueprint. And when the storm finally came for her, the thing meant to become her grave became the only road out.